So I hope everybody enjoyed lunch today, and it's really kind of timely because now I'm going to get up here and talk to you about how bad meat is and why we shouldn't eat it. That's actually not what I'm talking about. We are going to talk about our behavior-centered design process and how we've used that to build a campaign and a theory of change to reach millions of Americans to intervene and get them to eat less meat. One big reason that we're doing that is, is with this underlying hypothesis that people change when they see other people around them change. And it's something we've kind of heard a lot about today. Social norms has come up time and time again. We see it in our climate culture index data, where for all these different behaviors, whether it's transportation, energy, food, it's actually not your political party that is predictive of somebody making a change. It's not even if you believe in climate change. Climate change belief is not the greatest predictor of adopting these behaviors. It's actually social norms. So if the people around you are putting on solar panels or eating low meat diets, that actually is more persuasive than anything else. And it's not just the people you know in real life, it's also our parasocial relationships. So that includes characters on TV or on movies, but really these days, very importantly, it includes social media creators. And we heard from some social media creators earlier today. Social media creators have a huge opportunity and responsibility to craft what we consider the social norm. So if we're looking at them as the social norm and they're not projecting the norms that are quickly shifting, then we're not catching what's going on in society. So that's a huge opportunity to break that collective illusion that Jeff mentioned earlier. So with all that in mind, we gave Natalia and our behavior-centered design team a challenge. We said, okay, how do we design a theory of change and a campaign that moves millions of people to eat less meat and leverages social media and social media creators?
So we started this, and we already knew some things. So we already had quantitative research. We already had talked to medium and heavy meat eaters and had qualitative research as well. So a few key things that we started with. 1 in 3 Americans is already trying to eat less meat. That's kind of a lot of people. But that doesn't mean write them off, they're perfect, they're doing it well, don't look at them anymore. Because there's a difference between trying and succeeding sometimes. Another thing is that there's a lot of reasons people have for trying to eat less meat. One of the biggest ones is health, but even health looks so different for different people. And probably a lot of us in this room have climate as a reason for us, but if you look broadly, that is not a huge motivator for most people. And another thing we see is that women and people of color are really leading the charge. Same old thing, right? And so when we were thinking about this, we were like, okay, we already have 1 in 3 people who is trying to eat less meat. Instead of trying to motivate more people to want to eat less meat, what can we do with that third of Americans who are claiming to try to eat less meat, and how do we get them one step closer to eating less meat consistently? And what is a step that can be easy and a step that can also bring others along with them? So a first thought we had, no, I'm getting ahead of myself.
You can step on whatever.
Just bulldozing.
So way to go, Natalia, great progress. At this point, we understand who our audience is, we understand how important social norms are, but we also understand that ultimately we're gonna need to work on self-efficacy, work on that sense that, hey, this is totally doable. I can eat less meat in my life. That actually could work. So with all of that in mind, the next challenge for Natalia and the team was, okay, what exactly is the call to action?
Yeah, and I was getting ahead of myself, but yeah, what we wanted was really to get plant-based trial. And I'm not talking about fries or a side salad. We're talking about meals, things that are going to displace meat. So because really what we're after is less meat on the plate, not just more things beside the meat on your plate. So really, when it comes to food, tasting is believing. We want a lot from what we eat, but if it's not satisfying, it's not going to stick around. So how do we create an opportunity for that third of Americans who are wanting and trying to eat less meat, trying to eat less meat, to get a chance to try a bunch of plant-based food in a fun, enjoyable way? The first thought we had was potlucks or dinner parties. We'd previously done some qualitative research that showed that actually medium and heavy meat eaters are really interested in trying plant-based foods. They're super up for it. If you talk to them about, oh, would you be interested in going to a dinner party that was like fully plant-based? Yes, they are. They want to eat it. They want to see what these things are. But then if you shift the conversation to, okay, would you be willing to host one of these things? Absolutely not. It's hard enough for them to imagine what would they plan and make for their own family, let alone for other people. So we looked at a way to not need to have anyone hosting, restaurants. And restaurants have a couple key benefits. One, it's easy to plan. It's already part of what we do in a week-to-week, month-to-month, and no one has to come to your house. Yay. And also, chefs are cooking, which is great for a couple reasons as well. One, it means you can pick something on a menu that you like, or you can go family style and try a bunch of different things. And they're more likely to do a really good job of making the food. We've probably all tried to make something new for the first time and it not necessarily been perfect. With chefs, it's going to be good. And we've seen in studies, even if it's just because the menu was switched around from a choice architecture perspective, that when people order plant-based meals at a restaurant, they're more likely to reorder it. So that is where we're focused on restaurants.
Yeah, so super smart. Obviously, driving trial to restaurants is something that we've been doing before in marketing, so there's a pattern for that. It's a great solid theory of change. We've tested it out with our audience along the way. We've narrowed the focus to restaurants. Again, super smart. One thing we learned during all this was that people actually eat more meat when they go out to dinner than they do at home. So another reason why restaurants are such a great place to reset the social norm, because you're at dinner with your friends, you're watching what they're eating. It's very visible, and it's also very shareable. So what a great opportunity.
Okay, so we've been talking about the who and the what, but clearly we need to get to the how. How we're going to use social media to drive changes in what people are eating for that third of Americans who are already trying to eat less meat. And instead of starting with what we care about, which is climate, we took a consumer-centric view and really looked at what is the current context of going out to eat with your friends? When does our audience go out to eat? What drives it? How are plans made? And then we created content using consumer feedback as well along the way that boosted the fun factor, focused on tasty and appealing food, and made it about connection and group activity. We needed to feel like something that your friends would be up to, because really nobody wanted to suggest something that they thought might get shot down. And there's a lot of really great reasons to eat less meat, but a lot of them are positioned really rationally. It's do it for your health, do it for the environment, do it for animal suffering. And it taps into some of those negative emotions and guilt. And it's not saying those don't motivate, they definitely motivate people, but you have to be in a rational mindset for those. And it's not something that people want to impose on others. So as you've seen behind me here, we've tried to tap into positive emotions, reasons people already have for eating out with friends, not looking at sacrifice, but looking at a fun time to be had and tasty food. And we tested 7 creatives, including some of the versions of the ones you just saw, in a randomized controlled trial, and our results were really promising. From just viewing our top creative once, we saw an increase of 85% in beliefs that your friends would be interested in trying a plant-based or vegetarian restaurant. And similarly, we saw a 52% increase in belief or in intention to suggest a plant-based or vegetarian restaurant. Huge. And also, we saw that, not shown up here, but that people were as interested in learning about the plant-based and vegetarian restaurants around them as they were in learning about the sushi restaurants about them, which is a much more common type of place that people would normally be checking out.
So these are really great results. I mean, I know it's kind of arbitrary. Okay, an 85% lift, good. But we've also run other campaigns through the same kind of testing, and we got nowhere near this kind of lift. So this was really impressive. It really showed that all the work through our behavior-centered design process was paying off. And it also, we put the same creative out with social media creators and found that it was engaging with their audiences. People watched it. Some of the creators earlier talked about watching all the way through. We actually had people watching twice and like watching the video more than once, which was really awesome. And you were also seeing people click through to find out about the restaurants. So really good early testing and basically an MVP and a lean process of this. But the most important thing we learned was that creators and even partners like Hip Hop Caucus were super interested because they're like, yeah, this doesn't have to be a heavy climate message. This can be a message about positivity, about something we can do together, about something hopeful, and they can each frame it for their own benefit. So if their audience is into animal welfare, great, incorporate that. But if not, don't worry about it. Just frame it for what's really authentic for you. And that was hugely successful with these really important social media gatekeepers.
Awesome. So social norms have been shown to be a stronger indicator than how much you care about the climate or even health motivations. So instead of trying to give people a why and probably lose some of the content creators along the way because that why feels a bit awkward for them, we're really focused on the how and putting what we want to see out there in front of people and letting the content speak for itself.
Yeah, so our next steps on this, for those that are interested, is to scale it up in specific markets where we can work with some of the partners I mentioned, like Hip Hop Caucus and some of the social media creators and local restaurants, to not only test, the impact of the messaging, but also how many people actually make it to the restaurants, how many people are repeat ordering. So that's the next steps, and we're really excited because the excitement and energy from the creators and partners is good. We really see a pathway to have a very solid ROI and reach millions of people very cost effectively. So, yay.
Right.